This is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer, Spiritual Messenger from SacredSoulEmpowerment.com, here to do a Soul Reflections video on the eclipses that we are now going to be experiencing for August and September 2016. So today is August 18th. This is the day of the full moon lunar eclipse that's in the sign of Aquarius, 25 to 26 degrees Aquarius. So to talk about these eclipses, I think it's going to be good to first break down in little bits and parts so that you can understand what new moons and full moon and eclipse and what that's all about. So if we start at the beginning, a new moon is a time where the sun and the moon are in the same sign, in the same degree of the same sign. And with the new moons, it's always a time of new beginnings. Now, full moons, on the other hand, are when the sun and the moon are in opposite signs. So in this case, with this full moon lunar eclipse that we just had on August 18th, which is again today, the sun is actually in Leo and the moon is in the opposite sign of Aquarius. And this is why we say that this full moon is in the sign of Aquarius, because that's where the moon is. Now, full moons are times of endings and releasing and letting go of something. I also feel like it's important to let you know that the sun in astrology symbolizes a conscious energy. So you can think of it as the sun is our consciousness, whereas the moon in astrology symbolizes the subconscious. So it's about subconscious patterns, subconscious ideas, subconscious energies that we hold within ourselves. So again, with a full moon lunar eclipse, where we have the sun in Leo and the moon in Aquarius, we're talking about the conscious energies being about Leo, which is about leadership, it's about creative energy, it's about where we shine our light, it is about it's about receiving blessings or receiving love. And the moon in Aquarius, which again is the subconscious energies, Aquarius is about giving of love or giving our energy. Aquarius is about all of humanity. It's about a humanitarian energy, and it's about service to humanity. So this full moon is really about the giving and receiving of energies. Okay? Usually we say Leo, again, is the receiver, because Leos like to receive attention and recognition for who they are. And Aquarius, again, likes to give service to humanity. So this whole full moon is about giving and receiving energies and balancing that. It's about balancing, you know, our receptiveness to energies and receptiveness to creative energies or blessings or shining our light, but also it's balancing that with giving service to other people, giving service to humanity, sharing belief systems or common ideals with groups of like-minded people in order to better the state of humanity on the planet. Now, the fact that this is an eclipse, which is what this video is about, is these eclipses, when we have a full moon lunar eclipse and a new moon solar eclipse, it amplifies the energies. So again, how I stated that new moons are about new beginnings. It's about planting a seed, because after that new moon, where the sun and the moon are in the same sign at the same degree, then the moon starts to what we call wax. The moon starts to get bigger. So if we plant those seeds, plant those ideas, visualize what it is that we desire on a new moon to grow during the course of the next 2 weeks, as the moon is growing and expanding into a fullness state, is when we can actually provide that energy during that new moon cycle of something growing and expanding, giving it energy, okay? Now, again, on the full moon, being a time of releasing and letting go, just to clarify, if you were to want to utilize the maximum power of the full moon, for instance, with a dream or a goal that you have, again, you'd want to plant that seed on the new moon and then allow it to grow during the next 2 weeks while the moon is waxing and getting bigger. And then about 24 to 48 hours before that moon is full, before we have a full moon, then you could actually revisit your visualization or revisit your goal or idea or dream or ambition and give it energy. Give it energy as the moon is coming to its fullest point. And that's really going to heighten that energy of manifestation. But the full moon as we had today, early today, Eastern Daylight Time, the moon, after it's full, then the moon starts to get smaller, right? It starts to wane. It starts to decrease in its size. And this is why it's a time of letting go and releasing. So now that we've already had this full moon, it's about releasing something of the subconscious. Remember, the moon is about the subconscious. So what pattern or maybe challenging belief system are we holding in our subconscious that might be holding us back or preventing some sort of ability to move forward on our dream? In a way, you could say it might be blocking. You know, it's a block that we've created. So at the full moon time now, we can now release and let go, do some healing work on ourselves and release and let go of whatever belief or subconscious idea that we have that might be keeping us from expanding into the truth of who we really are, expanding us into our dream, our destiny path, okay? Now again, the fact that it's an eclipse heightens the energy, intensifies the energy. We usually have sets of eclipses about twice a year. So this is the second time in 2016 that we're having these sets of eclipse energies, okay? We're going to have 3 eclipses in a row. Today was the first one, the full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius. And it's going to speed up the events unfolding in our lives. It's going to make things more intense and speed things up, make it so that a lot of things are happening, a lot of things are changing, a lot of things are redirecting during these eclipses. So let's talk specifically for a minute, in brief, about the August 18th full moon lunar eclipse. Again, it was the sun in Leo, the moon in Aquarius, and we're talking about the giving and receiving in a balanced way of energies, if you want to call it giving love and receiving love, or giving blessings and receiving blessings. Make sure there's an equality there, and at the same time now, release and let go of a subconscious pattern. Maybe write it out and burn it, or whatever you want to do. You could light a candle and meditate on it, but release and let go of an idea or a karmic challenge that you have, an idea about something that you know is holding you back in some way. This full moon lunar eclipse actually doesn't connect necessarily astrologically to the other planets, but what is happening astrologically during this full moon lunar eclipse is that Mars is coming up to meet with Saturn. Mars is in Sagittarius, which wants to go, go, go. Mars is a fire planet. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and it wants things to unfold quickly. And usually Mars and Sagittarius would have a lot of things happening all at once and unfolding quickly. But because Saturn is a planet of limitations and restrictions, it's holding back that Mars and Sagittarius energy from speeding things up and moving things forward in a timely manner. Now, Mars does come up in conjunct Saturn finally next week on Wednesday, August 24th. So once Mars passes Saturn after the 24th, then the Mars and Sagittarius energies can kick in. Then we're going to see things start to unfold a lot more quickly. And it doesn't mean that we didn't have something happening during this full moon lunar eclipse, but you're going to see a lot more happening after Mars passes that conjunction to Saturn. Now at the same time, Mars is also making a challenging square aspect to Neptune. So again, you gotta be in a place where you're expecting the unexpected here. You know, Mars again is our energy and action, and Neptune is saying that there's some confusion here, there's some illusions to what you're really seeing or what you're really experiencing. Neptune is a very watery spiritual planet, doesn't really merge well with fiery Mars, okay? It actually waters down that fiery, let's go, go, go Mars in Sagittarius. So again, there's going to be some confusing and conflicting energies just as far as us being able to move forward at this time. Also, Mercury is in its shadow. Now, Mercury doesn't officially go retrograde until the 30th of August, and then it will be retrograde for the first 3 weeks of September. But there's that before period and that after period of its actual retrograde motion that Mercury is in its shadow. Mercury is in the degrees that it's going to retrograde back into and cover, which is why they call it the shadow period. Mercury went into the shadow period on August 10th, and so you're already seeing some miscommunications or information that's delayed, information yet that still has to come in before we're making a good decision for ourselves, our goals, and our relationships, and our finances, etc. So again, that's also happening already, even though it's not officially retrograde yet. Now, on September 1st is our new moon solar eclipse, okay? The new moon solar eclipse happens at 9 degrees of Virgo. So again, this means that the sun and the moon are both at 9 degrees of Virgo. And this one is going to be really interesting because, again, new moons are about planting seeds and new beginnings, but this new moon solar eclipse is actually opposing Neptune because, again, the sun and the moon are at 9 degrees of Virgo. The opposite sign is Pisces. Neptune is right around 11 degrees, maybe it's retrograded back to 10 degrees by then, of Pisces. So it's directly opposite. And then, of course, the sun and the moon in Virgo is making a challenging square aspect to Saturn, which is at 9-10 degrees of Sagittarius. So it's forming what we call a T-square in astrology. And a T-square is a very challenging configuration, but at the same time that it's challenging, it pushes us into making some sort of a change. It pushes us into a new energy. It might be uncomfortable, but it's going to push us into that new direction that eventually we're going to come to see that we need to go into. Now again, Mercury now is fully in its retrograde motion on September 1st during this new moon solar eclipse. I also have to say that during that new moon solar eclipse that the nodes, the north node and the south node, are involved in that eclipse as well, because the north node is at 12 degrees of Virgo, really close to where the sun and the moon are, and the south node is at 12 degrees of Pisces, which is really close to where Neptune is at. The nodes are about the past and the future, and it's about karmic redirection, okay? So there's definitely something huge and big that's happening and occurring with this new moon solar eclipse. And then we go 2 weeks further and we come back to the next full moon lunar eclipse, which is now at 24 degrees of Pisces, okay? Which means the sun is at 24 degrees of Virgo, the opposite sign, and the moon is at 24 degrees of Pisces. Now, the really interesting thing about this one, well, first a couple of other things, is that Mercury is still retrograde during this eclipse. So basically all 3 of these eclipses, we're in a Mercury retrograde cycle where we have to review, reorganize, reevaluate, re-go over information. So we're really gathering more information. We're really having to it's like kind of wait and see for more messages from the universe to come in before we make set in stone kinds of decisions, okay? Also, before I get to the really big astrological thing with this full moon lunar eclipse, is that Uranus is in Aries. Now, that typically doesn't go well with Virgo energy. Aries energy, where Uranus is a fire sign. This full moon lunar eclipse, again, is the sun in Virgo and the moon in Pisces, which is water and earth. So that's not really compatible with that Uranus in Aries fire energy. However, it's at the same degree, okay? Uranus is at 24 degrees of Aries, and this full moon lunar eclipse happens at 24 degrees of Pisces. And because of that, there's some adjustments that have to be made. And Uranus is a planet that rules higher dimensional energies, God source energies, universal energies. It rules change, it rules redirection, it rules freedom, it rules surprises, it rules expecting the unexpected. I actually like Uranus energy. It's the ruler of my ascendant, which is Aquarius. So, but if you're not one that likes surprises, it might be a little bit difficult. And because this is a strange kind of aspect with the sun and the moon, it makes it so that it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a time of adjustment, so we have to adjust certain energies in order for them to make any sense. Now, the big astrological thing about this full moon lunar eclipse is that the sun at 24 of Virgo is opposing Chiron at 22 degrees of Pisces. Now, remember, the moon is at 24 degrees of Pisces, and so the moon is conjuncting Chiron in this full moon lunar eclipse. And remember, Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron, in its most positive aspect, is bringing great healing, great soul healing to some subconscious area of our lives, or some past life pattern in our lives. So it's bringing this wonderful healing, or it's expanding our own healing abilities, if those of you that might be healers, or just those of you that might want to project healing energy to certain areas of your life. This is really good. But also Chiron is where the wound is. It's where our greatest wound lies. Maybe our wound is our sense of self-worthiness and valuing ourselves. Maybe our wound is about money and finances. Maybe our wound is about relationships and romance. You know, everybody's Chiron wound is a little bit different. And in particular, because Chiron is at 22 degrees Pisces, you're going to want to look to the area of your chart where 22 degrees Pisces would fall. And in fact, to expand that a little bit further, you're going to want to look to the area of your chart where all of these eclipses fall to find out how exactly these eclipses will specifically affect you. Now, they're going to affect everybody in some way, shape, or form in general. And what we're talking about here in this video is the general energies with the astrological configurations that are going on during these eclipses. But to really understand it more on a personal level, you want to look to, for instance, where the full moon lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Aquarius on August 18th fell in your chart, where on September 1st the new moon solar eclipse at 9 degrees of Virgo, where that falls in your chart, what house of the zodiac does it fall in your specific birth chart. And then on September 16th, the full moon lunar eclipse at 24 degrees of Pisces, and where that falls in your chart. And specifically, if it falls on an angle, like your ascendant, your descendant, your midheaven, your nadir, or if it falls on any of your planets in your chart, then it's even more specific. It's even more important for you to pay attention to. But again, these are all important energies for all of us in general. So I think we've covered everything that I want to cover. Because Mercury will be going back to direct motion around the third week of September, which is after that second full moon lunar eclipse, I want to say give it another week for Mercury to start speeding up a little bit as we move into October. This is the good thing, is that we're moving into October. The eclipses are done. We move into the second half of October, and the Saturn-Neptune square starts to pull apart, so things can start to become a little bit more clear to us. And of course, Mercury retrograde will be over with and start to clear things up by the 1st of October too. So October in general, and even going into November after that, we'll start to understand more greatly and more specifically where things are going in our life and be able to make proper and appropriate decisions based on what occurs for the next month and a half to 2 months here. So thank you all for watching, and for those of you that like this video, please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel, my YouTube channel under Colleen Lemma. Watch my Facebook posts under Colleen Lemma or Sacred Soul Empowerment, and check out, if you want to, my website at sacredsoulempowerment.com. So thank you so much, And I send you all many, many blessings of love and light. Love and light to each and every one of you. And have confidence in yourself. I have confidence in you. So, love to you. Mwah.